tournaments, how about a big coup for Riot Games in Valorant showing up on Shroud's return stream? Uncle Shroud decides he wants to stream Valorant to 500,000 people when he returns to Twitch in his exclusive deal. This is a big deal. I think this is great for Riot Games, but it also furthers the point that these streamers, Ninja, Shroud, you name it, they are doing this on their own accord. Compare it to Apex Legends last year, where streamers and other games as well. Rogue Company is another one currently. These streamers are being paid upwards of millions of dollars to participate in creating content for this game. However, for Valorant, they are flocking to the game. That the Riot effect, the allure of playing Valorant is too great for them to deny and ignore.
Yeah, I mean, there's this like wide window of opportunity. There's this wide window of opportunity. Like the top streamers in Valorant are its pro players, right? Like Skadoodle, Wardell, etc. Right? Like, but that's not like the same streaming level popularity as like a Shroud, right? Or a Ninja or any of these guys. Like they are on a whole nother plateau. No one is the biggest streamer in Valorant right now in the way that Ninja was the biggest streamer in Fortnite for forever, right? So like there's a window of opportunity for these guys to come in and be that guy, the Valorant guy on Twitch or the Valorant guy on YouTube or whatever platform they're on. So like, hell yeah, go for it. But it's great for Riot because they're not having to pay for it. It is organic. Shroud himself's a former CS player who like played a ton of Valorant early when it first came out, and he liked it and was streaming it on Mixer also. So yeah, I mean, big win for Riot with Shroud coming back, and I anticipate this will continue.
Emily,
well, I feel like this is. Oh, I was just gonna say this is exactly why Riot wanted to, because like I do think there are criticisms you can make for not waiting for China to release at the same time, and we'll see the repercussions of that later on, I think, regarding whether it takes off in China or not. But the benefit is that, you know, in the West, especially in NA where Valorant has completely taken off, everyone's at home. So you have a ton of streamers. They're returning to platforms. Everything lines up where people are watching streams more than ever. And you have this new game that, again, they did a really good job of like seeding it, so to speak, right? Where they were like, we have this new game, come play it in the alpha. It's really cool. We've talked about this several times about how it was a game that everyone wanted to play. Everyone wanted to get their hands on and at least try out initially. And I mean, it makes it rife for stuff like this. And Riot definitely like seeded these kind of things. And this is exactly why I think they rushed the launch. Right? Because the launch was definitely not supposed to happen this early. But this is how it has worked out.
I mean, it was supposed to be June 2nd. I think COVID kind of made it feel rushed.
Sure. Absolutely. That could certainly be the case. And still time is being taken for a proper launch in China. One thing, I want to break down viewership, not just from a competition perspective, but from a streaming perspective, Tyler. I know that you follow this very, very closely. Yeah. What I will say to set the table here is that with every event, in particular North America, that happens, we see increased viewership time and time again. I think FaZe did a fantastic job allowing co-streaming. Their numbers were impressive. Myth's numbers were impressive. The co-streamers' numbers were very impressive. Overall, I think FaZe really set the tone and the blueprint on how we should approach future major tournaments as it pertains to viewership and also co-streaming. But what about the streamers as well, Tyler? What kind of numbers are you noticing in terms of decrease, increase from streamers in Valorant as well?
Yeah, for this time you stole my thunder, Arda, because, I mean, Jacob talking about how there's not that central figure and, you know, that streamer who's kind of breaking free as, like, the number one guy in Valorant. And I love Goatee Shroud. He was great in Uncut Gems. Awesome movie. Love the goatee. Great job. I'm so happy he's streaming Valorant. He's great at the game. He brings he is a big hitter into the, you know, directory. But I think the number one streamer in Valorant who's not a pro player is Myth. We can't coach Myth, the restreaming Myth. He has been on the front line since the start of Valorant, playing, grinding the game. Even when, you know, his Fortnite fans are saying, go back to Fortnite. And, you know, the Valorant, the gatekeeping Valorant fans are like, you're not a pro player. Myth, stop playing. You're a Fortnite player. He has continually grinded at the game. And at the FaZe Invitational, he was pulling over 60,000 at the end of the Sentinels versus TSM series. which did
great. Great.
And it's not just that he's good. He's very good at Valorant, but he's also an amazing character. I think we've seen it through his Valorant restreams, from the coach myth to referee myth. He has been a really big part of Valorant's growth in terms of its organic growth, where he is kind of just taking it and creating his own thing with it. And I think I posted this on Twitter. If you're Riot Games and you're making a 2020 World Championship, whatever you're going to call it, maybe the first official big LAN of all these teams for a Worlds event, Myth has to be on the analyst desk. You have to bring him in. Like, I think he is one of the best personalities right now in the entire scene. He is amazing. Him and Moses would kill it on the analyst desk. So I just want to give a shout out to Myth, who not only provided great content around the Valorant scene on Twitch, but he also, during the esports scene, during his restreams, made it so much fun to watch, especially when TSM was playing. But looking at the scene overall, like we were talking about, like, what am I saying organically? Like, we've seen, like, players like Tens and Wardell and Kiko, they've all grown substantially over the last few months, where it's gone from Wardell being a 100-view streamer to now being 10K on average. And I think the most interesting thing for me is you're seeing a lot more Japanese players start streaming, and we're seeing a lot more Turkish players. CNED, for example, he's streaming. He's getting 5K plus every time he goes on stream. So I do think we're seeing a lot more of the regions that are really caring about Valorant, who are really attaching themselves to Valorant, and they're kind of propping up the players that they're really being attached to. So it's a really exciting time in those regions that where Valorant's working. There's other regions like South Korea where I still feel like it needs a lot of attention for it to actually blow up, where the Japanese tournaments are all getting 20K plus, 25K plus every time they're on. Korea has a big tournament going on and has 5K during the night, which isn't terrible. But when you have teams like T1 playing, the T1 Korean team, you should expect more viewership. So right now, the regions that are doing well are popping off, and the regions that you might have expected to be huge, kind of some of the European regions, some, especially South Korea, where you would think like, oh, they love League of Legends, they have to love Valorant. That region necessarily definitely needs some work on to get back up there with some of the other regions.
I want to mention just very quickly, obviously BBL Esports defeated Bonk to get into the Allied Esports Odyssey, which we'll talk about in a second. After that, I had a chance to speak with Bonk's head coach, Salah. That interview is part of Coach's Corner, another show that we do here at ESPN Esports, available at youtube.com/ESPN Esports. And Salah said in the interview, if you're a fan of a little bit of tea, if you're a fan of a little bit of fire comments and spicy takes, he says if you put CNED and Wardell in a jet op battle 1v1, CNED would beat him 20 out of 20 times. That is a quote. I am not paraphrasing it.
I do not agree with that. CNED's a very good player, and he has a lot of pop-off moments, but I think from just watching the tournament, in a tournament setting, I don't know in a casual setting versus the two, but I think in a tournament setting, Wardell has proven a lot more than CNED. I do think CNED is not on a pro team. Wardell is on a very pro team, TSM, big salary. He is scrimming, practicing every day, where BBL came together, I believe, 2 weeks ago, and a lot of their players are having day jobs. So if they do get that, that signing, or if CNED does go on that pro team, we might very well still his potential be up there or even surpass Wardell. But for right now, I would go with Wardell.